What's happening, Hardscapers? Let's talk about the 6 most controversial hardscape topics. Let's get into this. So I've compiled a list of 6 of the most controversial hardscape topics just based on my conversation with other contractors, as well as putting a poll up on our How to Hardscape Instagram page. And these are things that are up for debate, contractors don't agree on, and I'm going to put my opinion out there just so everyone knows where I stand on these controversial topics. And hey, at any point in this video you disagree with me on any of these, or you think I missed a topic, leave it in the comment section below. Starting with number 1, stone dust. Stone dust is a 1/4 inch chip down to dust. So after pulling up this row, what I'm seeing is stone dust. And if you do follow this channel, you know I am against using stone dust, but not just me, also all of the major manufacturers are against using stone dust. In fact, if you use stone dust, it voids their warranty, or it could void their warranty. So if they pick up those pavers, see that you use stone dust, warranty is void. So that is the biggest reason why you would not want to use stone dust as a contractor, because if you're using it, you have already voided the warranty of the product, including the jointing compound pavers that have been built on top of that for your client. So it's already a negative for your client. But if that still doesn't deter you away, the reason why you would not use stone dust is because it does not drain well. It compacts really well, but it does not drain well, which means you have more moisture affecting the jointing compound, so it's not able to fully cure. You get efflorescence problems with pavers, but that's caused because the moisture wicks its way through the concrete, leaves mineral deposits on the top of pavers. It's a white powdery substance. It does not look good. With my business, we do lift and relays of pavers, and the amount of times that we run into stone dust and we see the complications that it causes in that system is just a reason why I will never tell somebody to use stone dust. So stone dust, you know where I fall on that. Do not use it. Number 2, open graded base or dense graded base. I see more and more online people talking about open graded base. That is great. It is a base that I use probably 90% of the time. But still, there is a reason why you would use dense graded base. And I'm not going to get into that in this video. In the description below, I'll have a link to a video that we did on why you would use open graded base or why you would use dense graded base. But I still think a lot of contractors that are not online haven't really caught on to the open graded base, and it's really difficult to get a contractor to change their ways. But with the newer generation of contractors, I do see more and more embracing of open graded base, which is great. Also, there's synthetic base. That's another option that you can use. The best thing that a contractor can do is to educate themselves on different base preparation methods and then use whichever one works best for that client in their application of the project. So open or dense graded base, I choose both. Number 3, compacting before or after installing the jointing compound. With the jointing compound, we're doing a semi-permeable resin-based jointing compound. So I like to compact prior to installing it, and then the consolidation of that jointing compound comes with the water. With polymeric sand, I like to compact during the installation of the polymeric sand, so sweep, compact, and that seats your pavers into the bedding layer. So technically you're always supposed to do it before, just I don't like the fact that it does throw off your lines a little bit. So ICPI, the Interlocking Concrete Pavement Institute, now CMHA, says that you should compact your pavers before you install the jointing compound. What this does is it seats your pavers into the bedding layer and prepares them for that jointing compound installation. Now, for me, I don't like doing this. I know a lot of other contractors don't like doing this just because it can throw off your lines a little bit. If it was a perfect scenario and the pavers were made perfectly and the pavers were also touching, whether it's the bumpers on the sides of them or they're just a tight fit paver, then yes, I could see compacting before installing the jointing compound being beneficial to seat those pavers, but you still get that seating action, in my opinion, if you do it after the install of the jointing compound. So what I like to do is sweep in my polymeric sand or whatever I'm using, get that surface nice and clean by blowing it off with a leaf blower, and then starting my compaction of those pavers. I used to use a compactor with a paver mat on it to protect those pavers. Now I use a paver roller. So what that'll do is it'll seat those pavers into the bedding layer as well as allow that jointing compound to meet the bedding layer. Then we're going to top it up again with whatever we're using, because that action will consolidate that jointing compound down to the bottom of the joint, which will leave more more room for polymeric sand or jointing compound. Now there's still contractors that are not doing this, and that is not even a debate in my opinion. The debate more so is, do you compact before installing the jointing compound or do you compact afterwards? For me, I fall on the afterwards side of things. Edge restraint is another controversial topic to use. Plastic edge restraint, do you use concrete edge restraint? Do you use a aluminum edge restraint?
Edge restraint now, scraping back our bedding layer so that our concrete edge restraint is actually going to be on top of our base, not our bedding layer.
And once again, same with the open graded base or dense graded base analogy. A lot more contractors online that I see are hovering more towards that concrete edge restraint. And that's me as well. I don't want to use plastic edge restraint anymore. Over time, it does heave up and it just becomes incredibly unsightly. Concrete edge restraint, on the other hand, just works a whole lot better for most situations. Now, for my open graded base installations, I do want to start using an aluminum edge restraint with these wedge type spikes, because you can't use those 10-inch non-galvanized spikes into open graded base. It has nothing to adhere to when it rusts. Those are meant for a dense graded base, and it attaches to those fines as it rusts. The only time I'll use plastic edge restraint is in a synthetic base application, because we're not using those 10-inch spikes. Now we're using those screw fasteners, which I think work really well in that application. So edge restraint, I fall more so towards the concrete edge restraint. And the next two are about laying pavers. So number 5 is long lines. I am completely against long lines, even if it is in the paver pattern. Now, last year in our video, we did a project for a client that wanted to match the pattern that they had in another patio on their house to their new patio. And I had to follow this pattern that a manufacturer had created for this paver that had extremely long lines.
So you can see here, a line is broken up when you actually have a paver that breaks up that line. But now if we go down this line, you can see how long it is. It's actually 9 feet long.
When you're looking at that patio, your eye is drawn to those long lines right away. Now there's patterns that do have long lines, like a running bond pattern. That's completely fine. I completely get it. It's still not a pattern that I like unless we're installing a large format paver. In that case, long lines are completely fine. I'm more so talking about laying a random pattern, and especially ones that manufacturers have supplied for that particular paver. I try to keep my lines down to 3.5 feet tops. And number 6 is 4 corners. And 4 corners are when 4 vertices of a paver intersect. A lot of contractors do not like 4 corners, and I completely understand why.
Lots of 4 corners. 4 corners are 4 corners of a paver meeting. This creates a weak point. Now in a patio where it's just pedestrian traffic, not such a big deal. I am not too much of a stickler for 4 corners, but when there's 4 corners literally everywhere in the pattern, I don't like that. My eyes are specifically drawn to those.
The strongest pattern is a herringbone pattern. And that's because there are no 4 corners, there's no continuous lines, it's always broken up. But even in manufacturers' patterns, they have 4 corners in them. So is 4 corners a good thing, bad thing? In my opinion, in a driveway application, we will have no 4 corners. We'll do our best to do that. That being said, we usually have to order more product to be able to achieve that, because we can't achieve it with the layered product that we've been shipped that has a finite amount of large rectangles, a large amount of squares usually, and a large amount of small rectangles. So it actually does require a bit more product for that to achieve no 4 corners. But in a patio installation, in my opinion, it really doesn't hurt. Yes, your eyes are drawn to them, but I'm not going to pick apart a contractor's work if they have 4 corners in their patio, as long as they're not everywhere. So 4 corners, I'm kind of okay with. And you know what? I'm going to throw another one in here that shouldn't be controversial, but perhaps it is, and that's the use of geotextile to separate your subsoil from your base material. In my opinion, this should be used all the time. It just is not, and especially in an open graded base, it should be used so that there's just no contamination between that subsoil into the clear gravel. Woven, non-woven, you've got your choices. It is inexpensive and a good thing to install on every single project, in my opinion. But those are the 6 most controversial hardscape hardscape topics. If I missed anything, if you think there's another thing that's controversial, or if you disagreed with me at any point with any of these topics, leave it in the comment section below. And there should be a video popping up in the corner talking about open graded base versus dense graded base and why you would use one or the other. And we'll catch you on the next video.